Hi there. We have another different type of video than usual, but I just felt like talking about this because it's been on my brain lately. So this is regarding weight and some dieting talk. So if this is a hard conversation for you to listen to, I take absolutely no offense if you need to scroll on or if at any point you need to stop watching this video, because I know those are difficult conversations and we all have different backgrounds and struggles with this topic. Weight started to become a conversation, something noticed when I was 9. I started to put on weight when I was 9, and it's prepubescent stuff, but it didn't stop. I was always heavier than my classmates, and by the time I was 12, I was starting to be taunted for it, but my pediatrician at the time didn't address it, and it was always one of those, it'll even itself out eventually as she ages, potentially grows taller, which I didn't, and then when puberty hits, things like that. It was always just not a thing, don't worry about it. I will say when I was maybe 15 or 16, the weight did start to go down a bit. I was still, I'll call it curvy. I held my weight mainly like in my stomach, butt, thigh, like calf area. But when I was 15, 16, 17, it was more curvy, we'll call it more pleasant, more appealing than it had been. And I'm trying to think back, did I do anything different? And the only thing at that time that I cut out was diet soda. I wasn't super conscious of eating in terms of I wasn't restricting, I didn't change anything. So maybe it was the whole puberty thing, I'm not sure. From like 18, 19 to 21, I had fluctuations. I started college, caregiving to my parents, stress, all this stuff. So there were some ups and downs in my weight, but I was so busy, I really didn't notice. I started going to a gym, but that was purely to find something that was mine. I wasn't using it for any loss or muscle gain. It was just something to call my own. But there was a roller coaster of numbers between that time period. Then we'll say from 21 until I became pregnant at 28, I'll call it there was a steady increase in the number by we'll call it 5 pounds a year, but 5 pounds a year adds up. Then I became pregnant and I put on only 25 pounds when I was pregnant, but I gained postpartum. I was one of the few statistically to put on weight while nursing. And after having my son, I didn't lose a whole lot of it. It was a really big struggle. And I had my thyroid tested. I had all of these things tested and it was normal. Weight gain was attributed to PCOS, even though I had no symptoms for it otherwise. And then stress. They thought I was the person who holds on to fat when stressed. And I guess I'm stressed. Then I had my daughter. I put on 25 pounds again. And again, I didn't lose weight nursing, I put on weight nursing. So that's just my lot in life. And it wasn't until 2022 that I started what I will call an official diet with the goal of losing weight. I was not happy with the number I saw on the scale, and I really wanted to change it. And I lost 60 pounds. And from 2022 or 2020 until, 2020, hang on, let me do some rethinking here. Okay, I had to go look back at my app. I started the diet in 2021. And then when we moved in a year later, I lost almost 60 pounds. And then I was so just overwhelmed with moving and unpacking and starting this new chapter that I just went on what I'll call like a maintenance plan. I was not trying to lose. I wasn't trying to gain. I was staying, I plateaued, and I was okay with that. And I wasn't really calorie counting anymore. That was the diet I went on. I did a calorie deficit diet. I wasn't counting. I literally was just eating the same things repeatedly, knowing portions, the sizes. And that's how I was able to maintain for like a year and a half. For whatever reason, this past November, my eating habits changed tremendously. With anxiety and stress and time crunches during the day and taking care of everybody and meeting the needs of the family, my eating became so wonky. I was never the one to not find time for eating. I always made it a point to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And lunch was starting to go out the window, and slowly breakfast was getting reduced in size. So with my body, when I don't eat, I keep the weight and I gain weight. My body goes into like flight and survive, so it clings to everything it gets. So I was starting to do what I call like drive-by eating. I became the expert at eating food straight out of the fridge cold. So, I make meatloaf muffins, grab one of those from the fridge, eat it, move on with my life. Grab a handful of a Cheez-It snack and move on. And those moments were just increasing. Grab a pickle, move on. Grab a cheese string, move on. Or grab 4 cheese strings and pocket them and eat them when I can. And by dinner time, I would be ravenous because we eat dinner later. It's just the schedule. So I would eat, like when my husband got home, I would eat what I'll call a meal because I finally had the opportunity. And then like an hour and a half later, I'm eating a full-fledged dinner. Or I would eat multiple servings of dinner because I was ravenous and I had a headache and all this stuff. And starting in November, my water intake really decreased. I was really good about it. And then I would sit back and go, when was the last time I took a drink of something? So with all of that, I was just curious because my pants were fitting differently. I keep weight in my stomach, and I was like, that's looking bigger. So I weighed myself, and I put on 12 pounds, and I put on 12 pounds since November, and I put on 12 pounds since losing the 60 pounds, 3 years ago. So I was like, I gotta change something.